Hi, welcome. My name is Michelle Jutrissa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up. So glad you could join me today. Whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube, please make sure that you have given permission for StreamYards to post up your name so I can see who's chatting with me today. So if you do want to leave a comment, please let me know who you are, where you're from, because I always love seeing where people are coming from to watch my YouTube. You can always catch up with this also later on my YouTubes. It will be there for a while for you to watch, and also on Facebook, so I won't be deleting them from either of those. So you can always catch up if you miss it and want to watch the replay. Now, just very quickly, I'm just going to show you this. Oops, there we go. Just a reminder that the promotion we have at the moment, I think, is finishing up at the end of this month. So it finishes on the 31st of May. So we're just about halfway or just over halfway through. So if you're interested in joining Stampin' Up and you live here in Australia, please consider joining my team. So I've got a wonderful team of 2 other girls. You don't have to be a demonstrator to earn a living from this, or to, no, you won't actually earn so much of a living, but money off your, let me re-explain that. You can either become a demonstrator where you're going to set up a business and run a business, or you become a demonstrator, which is a hobby demonstrator. You get a discount on all your products and everything. Please don't join this expecting you're going to make a huge amount of money. You'll make, a bit of pocket money, a bit of change, that sort of thing. But it just really does help out with the cost of all your crafting tools and products, and that the quality of their products is fantastic. You can't beat it. Everything is theirs. It's individual. There's a few items that like your Versamark and your Stays On and so forth, but otherwise they manufacture their own cardstock and their own colors, and it's one-stop shopping, which is what I love. I don't run around all the different shops anymore trying to chase up matching things. Everything coordinates and everything's wonderful. But if you want to know more about Stampin' Up, please let me know. Now, I'm going to get back to me on here, so just let me change this back to here so you can see me again, and I'm going to flip this camera and let's get started. I'm just going to have a look. Let's see, someone has jumped on. Hi Glenda, how are you? So glad you could join us today. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of fun today. It could take a little bit of time with this YouTube because we're going to play with some dice. So let me just turn my camera. Won't be one moment. Okay, so these are my dice that I've had made up by a friend of mine, and we're going to roll the dice and let the dice decide what we're going to make. So I'm going to throw the dice one at a time, and let's see how we go. So let's start off with and work out what colours we're going to use. Oops, it's come up as we're going to do masking. So we're going to, well, actually not so much what colours, but this one here is what products we're going to use. So this one's telling me we need to do a bit of masking. Okay, let's go back to the colors. Here's the color one, and let's work out what colors we're using today. Wonderful brights. It's a cold day here today, so I was hoping brights might turn up. Okay, let's see what type of card we're going to make. Oh, I'm going to rethrow this. It's come up memories and more, so we can't really do that if we're going to be doing masking. So I'm going to throw this again and see what we come up with. We're going to do a standard type card. What sort of sentiment are we going to pop onto this card? Let's have a look. It's going to be a card that's going to be for you, or a sentiment that's very similar to that. And let's see, we're going to put any bling or anything on the card. This will be interesting because I don't normally use a lot of bling. So we're going to use something with pearls. Okay, so we're going to make a card. It's got to have a bit of masking. We're going to use your brights. We're going to be using making a standard type card. Okay, it's going to be a card that's for you, so I'll see if we can find a sentiment along those lines, and we're going to be using pearls. So let's have a look first off and decide what stamp set we are going to use. Now I've got my catalogue here, and I have gone through this and marked, pop those up there so we can still see them. And let's go through and find out what stamp set we're going to use. Now, I have marked all the ones I do own, so let's just quickly go through and have a look. Let's just very quickly. I'm also looking for something that might have a for you. I'm just thinking, what are we going to do? We're going to do a bit of masking. Ooh. No, might not do that one. If you've got an idea of what I could use, throw in a name. Help me out. But it's just got to be one that I've got. This is what takes a little bit of time when we're doing this, because I've got to work out what I've got and what I can use. And we want to do a bit of masking with it. Now, did you know we have masking paper in the new catalogue? Now, I don't have it as yet. Would have been great to have it for today, but I don't have it. I haven't purchased it at the moment. So it isn't something that I'm going to be able to use, but I can use a post-it note for masking as well. So you know, you can, it is going to be very handy with doing projects like this with using masking and using that. So let's just have a look. This is the only problem with using the dice, because sometimes I really have to sort of like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And I think I'm going to go back to the Hues of Happiness. Okay, so let me grab that stamp set and those dies. Won't be one moment. I've got a bit of an idea in my head what we can do. Okay, Hues of Happiness. You would think I'd put everything away and put it into, okay, what's the stamp set called? Let me see. I don't think it's actually called Hues of Happiness at the, there it is, Happiness. I'm looking for the word hues, but no, I need the word happiness. My dies should be in there. Okay. So now what are we going to do? We need the brights, which I've got there. Let's just start with, we need some post-it note. Actually, the better one I've got is, we'll use that one. This one's a, it's all over adhesive. We got this from here at Kmart in Australia. So it's it just sticks all the way down, whereas post-it note only has a bit of adhesive at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that flower. I'm going to grab out a few of my blocks. Sentiment will work on in a little while. And I want maybe that flower, that leaf. Okay then. Let's see how we go. So I'm just going to pop that over there. I do have some basic white cardstock here. And I'm going to start with that. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is actually stamp. And I'm going to use, I want a permanent ink. So I need my, let's see if I can pull it out of here. It's sort of been pushed to the back, but my stays on. Though, I'm just doing a little bit of thinking here because how I'm going to colour these. I think actually I'm going to try in my Memento. So, because I'm not using my blends. So if you use, okay, let me think. If I use my blends, I need to use Memento. If I'm going to do water and colouring, I need my stays on. Now, I'm not going to do watercolouring. I'm not going to use basic white. I've changed my mind on that one, so bear with me. I'm going to grab some shimmery white cardstock, which I have over here. That's it there. So, Glenda, what have you been up to this week? I hope you've had a good week and been doing lots of creating. Okay, so I have, and I won't even use that. Okay, so I'm going to use my stays on. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a couple of these images. Doesn't have to be stamped real clearly, so I won't do that one. And I want to do that one. But I'm going to cut through. So I'm peeling off 2 sheets of this because I want to cut maybe a couple of each one. It's the only problem with when these, they're really good, but it's hard to apply them apart. Crafting, playing mahjong and swimming. Love mahjong. Do you play mahjong on your computer or do you actually play mahjong? My father taught me to play mahjong when I was a little girl. And it was a great family game that we would play with my parents. My mother wasn't so much into mahjong, but my sisters and I definitely were. But I also enjoy playing mahjong on the computer. Okay, so all I'm doing now is I'm just cutting around. So it's a little bit of fussy cutting in this. And I'm just cutting around, and I don't know whether you can see, but I'm cutting right on that line or even a little bit inside the line. So, and the reason why I'm cutting a couple of pieces at once, because if I want to stamp lots of flowers and around them, then this will enable me to do that and not get a like a shadowing gap around. And by cutting more than one, if I'm overlapping a few of the same flower, I've got a couple copies of it. So there's the first one. Because the other type of masking I could have done too was using the masks that Stampin' Up give us to do different backgrounds. But this masking I haven't done for a little while, so this is good to do this one here again. Won't be long, and we'll have all of this done, just a little bit more. Now I could have used a die to cut this out, but the die would have left a border all the way around the edge, so you are better off fussy cutting these rather than die cutting, because you do want to cut right on that line. That's what the dies won't allow you to do. Okay. So I've got a piece of shimmery white here, and this has all been pre-cut. This should be a quarter of a sheet. Oh no, I've cut these a little bit smaller than a quarter of a sheet, and they're actually, might not use those. I might grab a full sheet out and cut a bigger piece. They're sort of a bit small in what I'm wanting, considering I don't know yet to how much I want to cut them down. So let me just grab, make sure that's shimmery white. Yes, it is. Okay, let me cut this down to just pop those all to one side. So I've got a half an A4 here, and I'm just going to cut this down to 10.5, which is going to give me a quarter sheet, and then I can work out how much more I want to cut it down. So what I want to do first off is I'm going to, I'm not going to colour this with my blends for a couple of reasons. Number one, my blends is hiding behind my iPad and everything, and I would have to move you guys and make a huge big mess to get them out. Hi Joanne, how are you? Where are you from? Love for you to let me know. So Glenda, you play Mahjong twice a week and you play proper Mahjong. Oh, fun. I'd love that. Okay, I'm going to stamp this one around about there. Now, I'm hoping I'm going to get a nice, clear, crisp image here because I'm not using my Stamparatus. Whoops, it hasn't quite. I'm probably needing to re-ink, and that's my memento. I think I probably need to buy some re-inker. Well, not quite as crisp as I was hoping, but anyway, we will work with that on what we're going to do. So what I've done here, Joan, so you know, we've rolled the dice. I've got 5 dice here, and we've rolled the dice, and we're going to make a card which is going to have some masking on it. We're going to use our brights as our colours, making a standard size card. So here in Australia, that's a half a sheet of A4 cardstock, whether you fold it in portrait or landscape. Which for you, well, for anyone from America, Ipswich, Queensland, great, I'm talking to Australians, but for those in America, then that would be your letter size, and we're going to use a sentiment similar to For You, and we're going to put some pearls on it. So that's our goal. So what I've done is I've stamped on some Post-it note my image, and I've actually got 2 layers of Post-it note here. So let's see if I can pry these apart, and I've fussy cut these right on the line. we've got, yes, I think I've got those. And let's see if I can just pull these apart gently. Not so gently. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to pop this right on top. So now this is the fun bit, trying to match. Where have we got this? So that looks like that's that shape. We're going to layer that over the top of that, and we're going to stamp again. So I'm just going to make sure I really well and truly ink this. So we've got one rose there, and I just want to put this another one over here, but maybe in a slightly different direction. So this is how you can layer flowers, and you always put what is ever going to be you want in the front, you stamp it first. So we're sort of now stamping from front to back. Now these dice I've had made by a friend of mine, so if ever anyone wants them, just let me know. I do have to get her to make me a few so I can pop them onto my Etsy store. So if ever you're looking for any of my cards or the tutorials that I do within the design team I'm in, which is Creativity Abounds, you will find those on my Etsy store, which is called Butterflies Bows, and the butterflies is YS, not IES. When I was naming it and I wanted to get a website name and everything, I couldn't get IES. So okay, so we've done that one. I want to pop maybe, well, I'll go the little one in there, tuck him in. I think we might just tuck him in just there on top. So we're just doing our masking. So I've already die cut and fussy cut these. The tricky bit is always getting these two to separate. I can't wait to see our new masking paper or to get some of it. I haven't got it yet. It's going to be in my next order. Okay, let's pop that one to one side and pop that one on top. Now, which do I do? Another small flower or another big one? Or we might just start adding our leaves. There are a few other little bits and pieces we can add in here too, because we're still yet to put our sentiment. So really what I'm creating at the moment is like a black and white layout. Pop a few of these in as well. Tuck that one. So even though I'm stamping on top of everything, these leaves will look like they're going to be coming out from underneath. Now let's just have a look. We do have a couple of other little, quite cute little floral pieces. So they're like little fillers. So let's just maybe pop in a couple of these. Grab a block. Pop in one just there because I want to add a little bit more height coming up. Might leave that one at that. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see what we have now underneath. I'll clean all those off in a little while with my stays on. They will stain your photopolymer, but that's just the thing with using stays on. So let's just peel off some of these. So we'll start with this one, and we'll see what we end up with. Now, because I have used a post-it note that's got the adhesive all over the back of it, it is not just coming up as cleanly as I like. And that's the start of our flowers. So now we have to colour those in, and we're going to colour those in using our brights. Now, I wished I had have got that stamped a little bit darker, but that's okay. So what colours are we going to use in our brights? So we've got, probably use Poppy Parade, maybe some Granny Apple Green, need a yellow of some sort, Mango Melody, Bermuda Bay might be a little bit too. Well, we'll have a little bit of a play and see what we can come up with, because we can always mix a few colours. And I do want a bit of Gorgeous Grape. So there's a lot of colours there. We're going to start off with that. And I think we're going to start with using an aqua painter. And it's not the one I want. Possibly that one. We'll need some paper towel. Because I've done this on shimmery white cardstock, I can actually do a little bit of a watercolour on this. So I like to have a bit of paper towel there. I'm just going to fill that up. So these are your water painters, or that we have in our catalogue. They come in a pack of 3, and I've just purchased a bottle like this. I think I got it online on eBay, which is hairdressers use it for their dyes, I think, and I've just keep my water in that. Just makes it a lot easier than having to go to the tap. Pop that back on. Now you've got to remember, these screw on opposite to what you think. When you screw them on, you usually go clockwise. Well, these screw on anti-clockwise, and you don't always have them real tight because you need a bit of that air. And now that I'm trying to loosen it a bit, so it screws on clockwise. No, it screws on anti-clockwise. Okay, so let's just take that off. I have got a couple of very old water painters here, and they're not even Stampin' Up brand, and they are the ones I really love using. So we'll see how we go with this one. You get 3 different nibs with these. So okay, I just wanted to wet my brush there a bit. And what I'm going to do is actually just layer some water on these. So I'm just going to take this big one, and I'm just going to moisten all my area that I want to colour. And hopefully then we can get the colour flowing nicely. So I'm going to start with the Poppy Parade. And I'm going to squeeze this. So what I do is I put the palm of my hand on the lid and my other palm on the back of it, and just squeeze the 2 together just to transfer ink from one side to the other, and that's not quite happening. you do with these new stamp pads have to really sort of push them quite firmly. Other way you can do it is just by using your re-inkers. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of water in this because I like to sort of water this down a little bit and then build up the colour. So we're just going to give this a bit of a wash. I'm not really worrying too much about staying the lines. Usually when I do watercolours, I do like to sort of stay within my lines fairly well, but I just want to give this a slightly more modern tone. So I'm just really washing these colours straight over and doing it quite quickly. I'm not even worrying whether I'm going outside. Add a little bit of water in that, so I do want to get a bit of saturated and getting that colour moving. Come back in here and just pick up some. So here I've added lots of water into this area here. This area up here, I don't have as much water in there. And I'm just going to come in and just dab, because I've well and truly saturated. I just want to dab a few areas in darker colour. Now just remember, I am just using my brights. Now with watercolour, don't sort of work on it. Let it dry a little bit before you come back. So I'm going to leave that colour now. And then I'm going to come back a little bit later on and add some more depth of colour. I'm just cleaning off that brush a little bit. And it's whether I'm going to stick with, I might just stick with all the one tone actually, rather than doing lots of different colours. Let's just move that pink into there as well. And that pink is just picked up from, it's just the water I've just added has just flowed the colour into the other. So that's helping with those soft tonings. I just want to go outside the line. I want it to look like it's been really liberally just brushed on, not sort of delicately painted. I really want a watercolour sort of effect. And I'm just going to put some water on this one. And we'll do the same with this. Don't want to get watercolour in that centre part, so trying to stay away from that a little bit. Now we will cut this card down a little bit to size once we're finished and everything is dried. You can hit it with a heat gun. If you get a bit of white in there, don't worry about it, just leave it there. That's actually sometimes quite good. Excuse me, let me just grab a drink. Okay, just close up that one for a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing with some leaves. So let's just add a little bit of water to this. And we're just going to come in and just very quickly, as I said, I'm not really going into any detail. I'm just wanting to add colour. And I think I'm using the middle nib, because the 3 painters that come in the collection, one's got a broad nib, and then you've got a very fine one, and then a medium one. And I think the one I've got here is the medium. So I'm not going to forget these little ones here. We're just going to add a little bit of green into those. There, like that. Make sure the brush is cleaned up. And this is where I might add a little bit of Gorgeous Grape. I really love it how you can use the lid, inside of the lid of your inks as a palette. I might just want to add a little bit more water in that just to get that flowing. Turn that around and just get these ones. So Joan, are you a demonstrator or you just love to craft? Now, a little bit later on this year, I am involved with our Creative Abounds team. We're doing a stamp camp, which is open to both customers and demonstrators. All you do need to do to attend that camp, and I think it is at the end of, oh, I don't want to get it wrong. It's either at the end of June or July. I will have more details as we get closer to the time on my blog and on my Facebook page. And we'll be using the Hues of Happiness as our suite that we'll be using for it. And to be able to attend it, you do need to purchase your Hues of Happiness suite, complete suite, and one of the ribbons we're going to be using through me. If you've already purchased it, if you're a hobby demo, if you've already purchased the Hues of Happiness, you can, as long as you spend, you have to spend it through me, through my online store, the same amount of money as the, I'm having trouble getting this Poppy Parade to pass the ink over. You have to spend the same amount, so I'll look up the cost in a minute. So you can buy other items, but you would need to do it, and I will be setting up a host code that can be done through. There we go. Well, let's think on that now. So now what I'm going to do is, because that's all now coloured, and the flowers in the middle, except for the yellow for the centres, the flowers in the middle are pretty much almost dry. So this time I'm just adding not as much water, but I'm going to come now and just sort of add just a few more details in where all of these areas here. So I'm just adding layering that same colour on top of what we've already done. And I'm using what the areas that Stampin' Up have given us as my guide of where I want to put more depth of colour. And you just build it up. Now, you do want to put some shadowing in there, so I'm just going to put up a little bit of area, because this one is just an outline stamp. So everything is, they've done no shadowing or anything in the stamp, so you can colour it to wherever you think your shadows are going to be. So your dark areas are going to be coming out from the underneath the petal on top of it. So I'm just bringing that out. And I'm just working around and just very loosely, because I want to keep this as very much a watercolor sort of look, but very loosely, just adding that depth of color around. And just building it up. There's no right or wrong, so don't sort of think that if you've put a bit of colour in the wrong spot or if you left a white area that it's wrong. It's actually quite good leaving some white area. And watercolouring is quite forgiving, so you sort of can go back and add a little bit of moisture and blend out a few more of those lines. But by working on it the way I'm doing it and doing it just sort of fairly sort of loosely colouring and doing your layers, you can build up some of those areas there. So that's, now I'm by no means a watercolour artist. It's just all trial and error, and it's just a matter of getting in and practicing and playing. And you don't have to be exact, because as I said, watercolouring is very forgiving, and the more white space you tend to leave, sometimes the better it looks. So just a bit worried about it, just get in, have a play. I've probably done a little bit too much depth of colour there, so I'm just making my brush a little bit wetter again, and I'm going to just put a bit of water in there and just blend that out a little bit. Same with up here. Just going to blend that out a bit while my brush is still wet. And this is starting to build up quite nicely. Just going to turn that around and just keep working, just so then I don't smudge what I've already done. You want your centres of your roses being a little bit darker, because they have a lot of shadowing in there, and then you can make it quite light around your edges. Just soften that down a little bit there. Okay, so I might just leave that for the moment. Now, I've learned by trial and error, you are best walking away and letting something dry rather than keep persisting with something. A lot of my worst watercolours are ones where I've sort of kept working, and the colour just becomes so muddy. So I'm just going to go back to the green. And we're going to do the same sort of thing here. Just adding a bit of depth of colour there. Probably just want to make it a little bit darker there at those ends where it comes into the stem. And depending on how much water you've already got on your paper, it will even tend to blend itself out. Just going to add a bit more depth in there. So what's the weather like today up in Queensland? It's winter has sort of really hit us this morning. We had a very cold here in the Southern Highlands. Okay. I'm not going to worry too much about those little flowers. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and I'm going to bring in the Mango Melody and put the centre of those roses in. So we're not bothering with that one. Squeeze that one again, just like the others. Okay, let's give this a really good. That's better. Now I've put a little bit too much water in that, so what you can do is get your paper towel and just blot it, but make sure you use it the clean side of your paper towel. And sometimes with the stamens, I just tap. I don't actually colour. I just tap my nib onto it. So I'm colouring that centre part, but then I'm just going to tap colour out. And then I'm just going to pick up just even straight colour and just tap it a little bit more in the centre, just to add the same colour, but just to add another depth of colour in there. I'm just adding a few little taps, just and there's a light and shade of the same colour. So once you're happy with that, and I think I am, because less is more, and I sometimes tend to go onto the side of more, but I want to keep this one less. Okay, just dried my nib off there and put that over there. I am going to hit this with maybe with a heat gun just to very quickly dry it. Just remembering, if you do put a heat gun on, it will dull your work down a little bit. But just for this purpose, just going to take out some of that moisture in my cardstock. Don't want to warp my paper too much, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Just let me plug my iPad in again so we don't. So I'm actually very happy with that. So the colours I've used for that so far, we've used Poppy Parade, Gorgeous Grape, Granny Apple Green, and Mango Melody. So they're the colours that we've used, and the black we've used is the Stays On. So now let's work out what colour card base. So let me grab my Mango Melody. And I've got some white here. We need pearls, so we've done masking, we've done our brights. We're going to do our card as a standard. We've got to work out our sentiment as you get, and we're going to put pearls on. So if we did maybe even matte that with a white card. Let's have a play with that and see how that's going to look. I've got a sheet of white, basic white cardstock here, and I'm going to cut it. Let me just move those out of the road. I'm going to cut this at half a sheet. Now I like mine as a tent fold card, and a portrait. So I'm going to cut that straight down in half. Pop that to one side, we don't need that. I'm just using a standard here. Probably could have gone the thick because we are, and I might even still do that. Just let me grab some thick basic white because we're going to have a fair amount of weight on this card. We really do want it to stand up. So I've got my thick whisper white here, or basic white. I'm going to cut that half that way. And then we're going to score it at 14.9. Or if you're using letter, you'll be scoring it at 5.5. So that is going to be that. Now, this piece here, because I do want to mat it. If you mat something, it actually highlights it and just makes it stand out. So usually with matting, I cut this at 9.3, and I've stamped this pretty much in the middle. So I'm going to just want to cut it off a bit off either side. I'm not worrying about how close I come to those leaves. 9.3. Let's have a look, see where that takes us. That's fine. And we want to make this 14.1. So really would rather cut off more at my top, and that will bring that back up a bit. Because I've really got this placed, stamped it down too low. I could have built this up a little bit higher up here. But we've still yet to put on our sentiment and so forth. It is only just a guide. It's not a fast rule. So let's go from that. Now I'm going to cut this down to 10 by 14.4. We'll have a look and see how that looks. So that could be on there like that. And that would then mount on there. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to pop some multi-purpose glue on the back of this. When you use your multi-purpose glue, don't take it too close to your edge because you don't really want your glue to ooze out. You want it to come close because you want it to hold everything down. And because we've got a little bit of warping because of the water we were using, we do want this to hold well, but you just don't want it to ooze out everywhere. Give that a really good press down, good rub on the back, just to make sure all that glue in there has really spread out. Now, if you've got a little bit too much warping in that, you can always grab your big block. If you've got your big block, and sit that, I'll probably turn that over, sit that on top, and that will help flatten that out. But I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm quite happy with that. But do we put it onto the white base? I don't think a coloured base would work as well. The other one that we could have looked at is a black, because black really tends to make things really, really pop. So what do you think? Let me grab a piece of basic black. The only problem is the basic black doesn't come in your thicker. And I do like the thickness of your white. So we could put it on a white background, or we could put it onto a black. If we had to cut all this down, we could have actually matted it also with a black. Let's just play. That's the beauty of doing this type of class or doing cards like this. There's no hard and fast rules. You can play with whatever you like. You like the black, Joan? Yeah, I think I'm tending to like the black too. I'm going to cut this in half. Score it. Make sure that cutting blade is out of the road. So that's on the black. And I think I like that on the black. I think I have to agree with you, Joan. I think the black is the way to go. There is just something about that that is just really making that pop as a watercolour. Okay, so I'm just going to adhere this directly down onto this, because I don't think I want to put dimensionals, because I'm not putting any ribbon or anything on it, because we're only going to put the pearls. I'll probably use dimensionals when it comes to the sentiment. So let's pop this straight down. Now with using black, we do have to think about what we're going to put on the inside of our card so people can write. Make sure that's positioned where I like it. Give that a really good rub again, just to make sure that that glue is adhered nice and smoothly, especially if you get a thick spot of glue. There's nothing worse when the glue sort of causes like a bubble underneath your work. You spend all that time doing your work and you get that bit of a bubble there. I'm just going to get my bone folder just to make sure that that is really nice and crisply folded. Okay, that's looking really good, but I'm going to do something. Pop that to one side, and I'm just going to grab my trimmer again. I've got some basic white here. I'm going to cut this down to 10 by 14.4. This is for the insert of my card. And I'm just going to grab my stays on again and one of my roses, and we're going to just pop that there. Whoops. Well, that stays on. It's a sticky ink. And we might just put, well, that went flying. We'll grab this other leaf. We'll use, whoops, better mask that off before I do that. Don't want to have flower stem going where we don't want it to be. And I'm going to pop that there. Whoops, didn't really stick real well, did it? Glue. Let's see if we can do this over the top. Not quite sure whether that's going to work. If it doesn't, we'll just turn it over and do the other side. Nope, don't like that at all. Let's just lift this. Beauty of using white. or using cardstock, you can turn it over and do it on the other side. But what I'm just going to do is just use my bone folder, those little ridges around the edge, because I cut it from the other side. I'm just going to flatten them out a little bit. So let's try this again. I think I'm going to have to get some more stays on. Really push down in that. Let's try that again. Pop our mask on top. Probably too if I store my ink pad, because I think I put a lot of ink in this last time I inked it up. That's why I've run out of refill. That's better. I want to pop another one just down here. If I store my ink pad upside down, then all that ink would be flowing to the top, and that's why Stampin' Up ink pads are so good. There we go. A little bit more masking. Can throw that away. Don't want to get ink on my fingers. And then that can go onto the inside of our card. Let's put some adhesive on the back of this. Now, slide that into position. Again, just give that a really good. Okay, so there's the inside of our card done. We've done masking on there as well. We've got our masking on top. Now we need a sentiment that has got something to do with for you. Let's have a look what sentiments are already in this set. Sending many thanks for all you do. Congratulations. You are wonderful in every way. Wishing you all the happiness you can imagine. Friends, best wishes. Happy birthday. So I really like the font in this. So it's not really a thanks card. It's got to be a for you, because we've already got thank you on there, but we're doing a for you. Just wondering, let me have a quick look at another stamp set and see if I can actually find a for you in another one, because you don't necessarily need to give cards of just birthday cards, you know. You give a card for any reason, but I want a nice font. Are a couple. Now what has a for you? Okay. Okay, here's one we can use. It's from the Colour and Contour. And it's so very happy for you. So let's have a go with that one. Now what I thought we could do is do the sentiment possibly in black, on black, because we've got a black card, and I think if I did it on white, the white's too stark against the shimmery white. Shimmery whites have got that very much vanilla or even an ivory sort of tone, rather than you can see there's quite a contrast. Bring that up so you can see there's a contrast in colour. The two colours, probably may not be able to see it so much on camera, but there is a bit of difference between the two, and I don't really want to add another colour. I don't know whether doing it in that is just, it's taking away the softness of the colour on the watercolour. So I think maybe if we do it in black. We've got two sentiments here. We've also got another one that just says here for you, which is more of a straight line. I think I might actually go for that one. And because I just really want to keep the sentiment going, a nice fine strip across. I don't know whether adding it in a circle I even want to cover up a little bit of this because that stamp's so dark, but even if it just goes a little bit there. Let's try it. We can do a couple of different ways. I think we might white heat emboss it. So let me find the block I'm looking for, which is this one. We could even fussy cut this. I'm going to stamp this twice, and then we're going to decide which one. I'm going to let you guys actually decide which one. This is going to be a real, let's see how we go sort of card. So I hope Glenda and Joan, you're watching, because you guys are going to choose what sentiment is going to look best. So I'm going to stamp this one a couple of times. So we're going to do that there, and I'm going to stamp it there as well. And then I'm going to grab the other sentiment, which is so happy for you, because that can be used in lots of different ways. Just need another block. You know, that could be a wedding or anniversary or congratulations or something else. If you're so happy for somebody. I'm going to stamp that there. Now, just so happen to have some white there. I need a scrap of paper. So that's my white embossing powder. Let's pop this on top. Oh, that wasn't supposed to be there. Dimensional cover came out of the embossing powder. Whoops. Last time I played with my white embossing powder, I got white embossing powder everywhere, and I've just got it everywhere yet again. Let's see if we can grab this dimensional out while we can. Yes. Goodness knows how that ended up in there. So I'm going to pop, I think I've knocked a bit of powder off my, just on there. That's better. Okay. Powder all over my new jumper everywhere. Might help if I plug this in. I've got my PowerPoint here with different things. Have to keep replugging things in and out all the time. I need more PowerPoints. Okay, let's heat this up. Wait for the magic to happen. Just make sure that that has all changed. Yes. Just excuse me while I just replug in my tablet, because we don't want it to go quiet on us. Okay. First off, I'm just going to break this up into sections. So I'm just going to pop this into here, and then it's going to trim that and get rid of all of that. We don't need that. So I want to trim this down as finely. I think it's going to be too thick. I really don't think. So if we use that as a piece going across our card, it's quite thick. We're going to lose a lot of our flowers unless we brought that sort of down a bit. Then we're losing too much of our leaf. I know I want to lose a bit, but I think it's just going to be too much. So that's example one. Let me grab my scissors. Going to cut a bit of this excess away, and let's just fussy cut this. Shouldn't take too long to cut because there's really just a lot of straight lines. Except we're just going to go around that H. And all I'm doing really is just moving my paper and just keeping my scissors nice and straight. And I'm going to cut that straight across there and just cut that at a straight there. You can always go back and just trim up those little bits that you're not 100% happy with. Like just there. Okay, so that's, pop that just across there like that. I think that's quite nice. So we've got 1, 2, and then the other one would be to fussy cut this one. Don't want to do a circle because I think it would be too big. Let me just get rid of all of this rubbish here. Just want to play a little bit of that nice, a little bit smoother. So, if we did this one, we could put that one somewhere. No, you know what? I think I actually like this one because it's small. I can sit it just there. I think that's, what do you think? So 1, 2, or 3. So this is being 1 because that's my choice. 2 or 3. Let me just grab, while you're looking, let me just grab the mini black, the small one. You like that one too? Okay, Glenda, I think that's what we'll go for. So I'm just going to use the mini black dimensionals because they're black being, they'll just disappear underneath this quite well. And we're going to put a few on here. We still have the pearls to add. I am putting about 4 in there, just for the fact I don't want it to sink in the middle. And I do just want to bring that just on there. Now let me grab some pearls. So long since I've used pearls, I might have to search a little bit. Here they are. Now, of course, if you've got your blends, you could colour the pearls if you want, but I'm just going to use them as they are because they are sort of a an off-white. Now, I've just got all my packets here are fairly old, so we're just going to use up what I've got. And I'm going to use the small pearls because I don't really want them being too big. And I just want to add 1 there. Shows you how long since I've used pearls and the fact that they are still so. I might pop 1 just there because I don't think I want to go all the way up. And then 1 over here somewhere. There we go. I think that is done. So let me just remove some of these bits and pieces from around the card. So there's our card. There's our dice. So we've done a bit of masking. We've made a standard type card. We've used some of our colours from our Brights collection. The card isn't exactly for you, but it's here for you. So the terms for you are in my sentiment. And we've popped on some pearls. So there you go. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this card today. I will, as I said, this is posted up on my YouTube. So if you do want to go back and watch it again, you can. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me just flip my camera around to me again. Oh, cords flying everywhere. I've got to tie some of these cords back, I think. Okay, no, it's not going to get hidden today. Okay, so thank you again for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed that. And I hope to see you all next Friday as we create a card again. And Joan and Glenda, Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure having you with me. Bye for now. Bye.